Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Merlini plays. This time I wanted to analyze a replay of a Slardar, and the emphasis on this replay is on pressuring an Anti-Mage early. A lot of you dealt with Anti-Mage in 6.84, probably thought he was gone in 6.85, or at least I thought he was, but he's still being picked up a lot. However, he's not that strong, and a lot of his lane contesters are much stronger, which is why I put AM in the nerf category in my patch analysis video. Just because if everyone's better and he's slightly weaker, that's even a bigger nerf than I initially thought. So, anyways, this is a bit of a clowny game. I'm with Blitz, his AKA Starstruck. He's trying to practice another hero besides Storm because that hero is not that great. Eosin is playing the Earthshaker, and I am playing the Sora. So we just random a double melee, double stun. Not that great of a lane, mind you. But we're like, okay, our job, pressure this Anti-Mage. And the guys that we're against are actually higher MMR than us. We gain more than 25 points at the end of the game, so don't think that we're up against like complete noobs, and that's why this works. Anyways, I start off with a ridiculous build with 4 mangoes from our mango farm and Earthshaker with 3 mangoes from his mango farm, because we are mango farmers and mangoes are pretty darn good. But I was like, whatever, I have 725 gold, might as well buy as many mangoes as I can.
30 seconds.
So we only have a dual lane on bottom, and people are gonna be like, oh well, why don't you do this versus a 2-on-3 situation? We can just bring the ogre down if we need to, if it's just a 3-on-3 or 2-on-3. So it's not that relevant that it's only a 2-on-2, as long as you have the same amount of people in the lane. Or you can even have like a super strong dual lane instead, like Undying Tusk, if you want to go in a 2-on-3 situation. But 2-on-2, even numbers, and I actually sacrificed myself for the rune, which is probably not that great of a play. We give Dazzle early boots, which makes our lane a little bit more difficult than it needs to be, but we're trying to have a little bit of fun in the early game. But anyways, the creep wave comes, and I just want to trade hits with them as soon as possible. There's a couple of reasons for this mentality. Firstly, I have more armor than he does. I have 55 damage, he has 54, so that's pretty negligible, the difference in that. I have 5 armor, he has 2 armor, so that's a pretty big difference. 3 armor is like, roughly, 12, 13%-ish less damage, and I also have mangoes that I want to start regenning right away with. Also, he does not have mana break at level 1 because he had blink. So all these things make me want to trade hits with him as much as possible to keep the Anti-Mage farm. The goal of the lane is to keep Anti-Mage farm at the expense of your own farm, which is good. Let's say I was like a Jungle Nature's Prophet. The idea is like, okay, you get more farm than the Anti-Mage and you trade farm. This is kind of the same thing, but not you're like trading no farm. Like, I'm just going to sacrifice all my money and throw all my money at keeping him under farmed and buying early game stuff. So, yeah, first wave, he comes by, I right click him, I stun, and I trade 2 hits and a stun for his 2 hits. So even trade there. He wants to go buy Poor Man's Shield because he realizes that I'm going to be right clicking him nonstop, and he's exactly right on that. And I'm okay with me not hitting creeps as long as he's not hitting creeps. If there's an option for me to trade farm with him, I'll generally just try and deny him from right clicks as often as possible. And Dazzle's slightly out of position, and we chain stun him down, and that makes things a little bit easier. Keep in mind this guy had boots and first blood, so there's not really a good reason he should have died there unless he's just slightly out of position. So I'm out of mana at this point, which is not that great. I'll pull up CS so you can actually see we're even right now, which is pretty good. And I want him to know that I'm going to harass him every time he comes up. There's something to be said for that sort of mentality too. When you go up, you're like, man, I'm really going to get hit once or twice for this. And this is especially easy with a ranged hero, mind you. So if I can do it with a melee hero, you can definitely do it with a ranged hero, because he can't hit you back. And that makes things trivially easy. And at this point, I actually want to buy some regen, and I have 170 gold. I can buy a set of tangos. If I didn't go a ridiculous build, it also would be trivial, but I want to buy myself some tangos and put them on chicken and send them over. But Will's like, oh, I almost have my bottle, and he's 250 gold away, and I actually give him a lot of CS. We were just 2-2. Now he's 3 ahead of me because I don't actually have enough HP. So you want to make sure that you have enough HP as an offlaner. Sometimes I like to get like 2 sets of tangos and a salve. That's even cheaper than the 500 gold I spent on mangoes in this game. But you can just make sure you buy a lot of regeneration, and sometimes you get boosts early, but sometimes it's worth just spending that 450 on regeneration so you can keep up the pressure instead. And I actually send the chicken over, like, oh no, I need my bottle, and it probably actually would have been sent to me and picked up in time by the time he gets his 700 gold. So I have to unfortunately give him a fair amount of CS during this period of no regeneration. I'm starved of tangos. I need to grow my own tango farm, and let's see, this chicken's still sitting in base and he still hasn't gotten his bottle. I'm like, Will, what are you doing, dude? I could have had this this regeneration already in my inventory, but luckily I have mango so I can keep my HP up, but he's being greedy and a princess, so we have to accommodate him. And yeah, I get my mangoes at, I think, at like 350 or something, which is like 2 minutes later than ideally I would have wanted. And now we can't really harass him under tower because we're melee heroes. If we start right clicking him, then the tower will aggro us, so instead we go for a kill on the dazzle, so he can't right click us. I have no idea why he trapped himself in this little bit, but it gives us an easy kill. Played with my food a little bit before I kill him, but I was like, I'm giving Anti-Mage farm in the meantime. Now he's at 14 CS and I'm at 6, so now he's being pretty, like, he's super high in terms of his CS, but if you keep in mind, it's 30 minutes, so there have been 7 creep waves that have spawned, 0, 0, 31, so on and so forth. So 7 creep waves, I think, and all of them have gotten to the lane aside from 1, so that means there's 6 creep waves that have gotten to lane, and out of those, that means there are 6 times 4, 24 creeps. He's at 14 out of 24, which is slightly above half. So a free farming Anti-Mage would have at least 20. So let's say we kept this farm down by, you know, 25-30%, which I think is pretty decent at this point in time. And I get boots, so I can kill him. Finally get my regen, which I've been pestering Will for the last 2 minutes. And they also get Magic 6 in lane. This is a very important point too, because you want them to invest in items that are going to help them in the early game as opposed to help them farm. If he gets a Quelling Blade, he can just farm like a madman, but he knows if he gets a Quelling Blade, he's going to be punished for it. I'm just going to keep right-clicking him, similar to if he didn't get a Poor Man Shield or a Stout Shield, I would have just been even more willing to right-click him. I'm a little bit less willing to do so because he has a Poor Man Shield, which makes me trade less efficiently, but I actually buy a Poor Man Shield myself, so I'm like, screw this guy, he thinks he can try and, you know, mind game me with a Poor Man Shield? No way. And I get one so I can keep right clicking, and I'm usually up in front, so I'm taking right click from Dazzle, and it gives me 1 more armor, physical damage from Dazzle as well as Anti-Mage. It will help out with both of those. So I try and keep right clicking him whenever I can, just to get damage as much damage as possible, and he actually tries to burn away a little bit of my mana. He went to 1-1-1 build with stats, the standard Anti-Mage build, and we try and get every rune too. 0 minute rune I got, but I died. 2 and 4 minute rune we control for Will because he's a princess, and we have to give him a little bit more farm in the meantime because of that. The Fissure Block's on the wrong side, but I think I would have only gotten like 1 more right click in, which wouldn't have killed him. But now he's finally out of regen, so it may look like, oh, what are you, like, you're just wasting your time trying to harass him down. He will have a ring of health soon, but you always want to make him feel scared. You want him to be like, oh man, I can't go out unless I have full HP. They might like stun lock me down, and a lot of it is just getting in their head psychologically and punishing them whenever they try and farm. And I just try not to make it an easy time for him to CS. And again, this is a terrible lane, Slardar Earthshaker. So imagine what you can do with a real lane like Ogre, THD, or something ridiculous like that. So let's see, his CS is 23 at 5 minutes, so again, not that great, around 10 waves, so 40 creeps, he's sitting a little over 50% CS, which is, I would say, we're doing a successful job thus far. But now I'm low HP, low mana, but I don't want to go home at the moment. If I really need mana, I can pop a mango, but there's free XP and free farm at the tower, and I just let Yosin go home instead. So I eventually pick up 1 level in Bash. Some people like 2-2-0. Sometimes I like 1-2-1, just depending on how much I'm right-clicking and actually chasing. I'm not really chasing people that often. I'm more right-clicking people, so I think having the point in Bash is much better. Although at this particular moment, I'm trying to chase the Dazzle and force him out of lane. So This guy gets free CS under tower again. We're not really in a position to contest this farm under the tower, and we really want to kill this Dazzle and make sure his farm is limited, and he can't utilize this at the same time. So 6-minute rune, again, we check it, we get it, and eventually I want to come back to lane so I can start right-clicking away. This guy has a ring of health now, so I think he got it around 5.5 minutes, so we're not limiting his farm that much, but keep in mind, like 12-13 minutes about the time for boots plus Battle Fury free farming Anti-Mage. And this guy's burns all my mana. You really want like a mango or a magic stick, I think, versus an Anti-Mage or a bottle, not like a, let's say, a Basilius, just because Basilius is constant regen, so that means when you regain your mana, he's just gonna right click you. But if you have instant regeneration, like bottle is kind of close to instant, or let's say magic stick or mango, then you don't have to have mana for him to burn, but you also have mana to cast your spells. So it's important to kind of have that attribute too. If you're like a Clockwork who never has any mana, you're never going to be able to get any kills in the lane. So sadly, both of us have to go home and heal right now. He's working on his Trez right now. I come back, start harassing him, and it's important to keep harassing him and make him low. He's at like half HP right now. You might think, oh, he has a ring of health, why do I even bother anymore? Ring of health plus poor man's shield, that's 5 HP a second and a lot of mitigation. Why should I even bother harassing him? It's so you create opportunities for your team in order to kill him. Now he's at like half HP. He feels like decently safe, and he really wants to farm because it's an Anti-Mage and that's his job. But now he's at half HP and now he's in like a difficult position. Do I ferry out myself over some Tangos? Like the mid player might need to come over and bottle him. Dazzle needs to come over and heal him. Should I go home? Should I go farm the jungle? Should I creep pull? Like when he's at half HP, there's a lot of decision making that he has to do. If he has at full HP, it's easy. Okay, I just farmed, they can't kill me. But when he's at half HP, there's a lot of things going on in his mind and opportunities that weren't there previously. So now we think that we can kill him, and he has to blink out. He misses the wave because he's really scared of us. Sadly, our Ember Spirit rotates for nothing, but we still try and limit his farm. And at this point, I would actually prefer us to creep pull this wave into the tower. Or sorry, creep pull this wave into this so that we can tower dive him with 3 melee heroes. But sadly, that doesn't happen, and I don't think get a kill on this guy just because it's way too risky. And at this point, we see a life stealer come back and wrap around behind us. And I start amping up people. I don't actually want to amp up the life stealer until he rages, because if they're actually going to go for a kill, he's going to rage, and rage is going to take off my amp. So I want to amp the Anti-Mage and the Dazzle first because they're our primary targets, and as soon as this guy rages, I will amp him up.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I want to start this kill as soon as possible so Lina doesn't get that much free farm, because right now we're pretty much trading Ember's time in hopes that we'll get a kill on bottom. If we don't get a kill on bottom, we just give Lina free farm in mid, and we don't really achieve that much. And he misses the fissure block. Luckily, Blitz has max flame guard, so he doesn't end up dying. And they actually have like a ton of people that come in, 5 people that come in to kill us. So before it was just 2-on-3, we're like, oh, we're wasting our time. Now we're like, okay, 1 kill for 5 hero rotation, that's pretty good. Tinker gets farm, and our Ogre gets decent amount of time on his hands too. So he wants to join in on the party. We're still trying to kill this guy. So this guy had brown boots, ring of health at 530. It's been 4 minutes later. He's farmed like, let's say 1200 gold, so 300 GPM in the last 4. That's again a success for us. We're really keeping his gold down, and he's 3rd CS, pretty much tied with 3 other people at this point though. And this guy's joining in on the Mango Madness too. It's really good versus Anti-Mage, and a lot of kills about to happen in the other lane. And again, this guy's like at a really low HP. We're just throwing everything we can at him. He can't last hit these low HP creeps because he's just scared of getting chains done to death. And I want to amp him up as soon as possible so that I can see him if he's going into the trees, but he's hiding in the fog right now, so I cannot do that. And he peeks out for some CS, and as soon as I see him peek out, I want to go in for an amp. And I don't really want to round this. I think it's safer to amp him up from over here. And now he's scared. It's like, do I really want to come up? I have minus 10 armor at this point. Is it worth it coming up for creeps? And due to the Fire Blast nerf on cast range. We don't get the kill initially, but this guy walks up, gets multicasted. Even if he didn't get multicasted, he still would have been hit by the fissure, so not the worst thing in the world. My bash luck is not very good. We don't get the kill on Dazzle, and still keeping up pressure on Anti-Mage. And if you look at our net worth at this point in time, how is the net worth for their 2 laners as opposed to our 2 laners, and see how successful things have been going. 3182 versus my 2600, so he's 500 gold ahead of me. These two differences about 400 gold, even after feeding the first blood. So they're only plus 100 gold, and they've devoted about the same amount of resources, I said, than we've had. So that's a success in my book. I'm very okay with him getting a late Battle Fury if it means my late Blink. And I almost died at a tower right over there, and go home, get some more HP and regen. Anti-Mage gets some free farm in the lane, but I still see him farming the same place. We have good vision in the jungle, and I just want to push him out to lane. And maybe we can kill him if he's in the jungle because he won't have as good vision. And we actually go for a kill on their supports because we see them at this moment. We ping out the Dazzle. Dazzle's the easiest one to kill. Lifestealer has Rage as well as Infest, which we don't know is not up. And notice this guy's like walking into us, like trying to get us to go on him, and we just completely ignore him. Target selection is really important. And I don't ignore him because I'm open wounded and I can't really chase the Dazzle down. But this guy's amped up and has to blink out because he's scared of dying, and he probably sees this big wave over here. He's like, oh, I want to get these creeps. But now we try and invade his jungle. Tinker has his BOTs, and it's a good time to take control of their jungle, take their T1 tower. And I know a lot of shutting down Anti-Mage is a team effort, but you start from the laning phase, start right-clicking him, make him buy a lot of regen, make him scared to hit creeps. And again, you can really do it with any other lineup. And Ember Spirit misses his chain, so Lina TP's out. Well, you need more practice on that hero. So this guy's bottom. I know that he's bottom, and I ideally want to amp him up so he knows that we see him in the jungle. We probably see him anyways, but I want him to know that we see him. And now his CS is still pretty okay. It's about the same as their Lina, which is less than our mid and safe lane, and I'm kind of down in the dumps over here, but that's okay. So is their Dazzle. And I'm like 1,000 gold off from the Blink. The laning stage is not quite over. He's still farming the lane a decent amount without going too much into the jungle, and I'm still farming the lane and not rotating too much besides their jungle. So it's not over yet, but generally it'll be like first or second nighttime when the laning phase is over. But it varies game to game. But he sees 4 creeps as well as a siege creep, so he clearly wants to farm this. I'm just waiting for him to come so I can amp him and start threatening. They don't have a ward right here, so they don't actually know how many heroes are in our lane at any given time. And as soon as he comes to lane, amp him up and try and get him into a kill range. And we actually call for some backup over here. We see Ember Spirit TPing in, Tinker has BOTs so they can come in, and sadly I sacrificed my life over here. They actually want to go in first, but luckily we have our whole entire team here. And Anti-Mage, he can't blink away, he can't fog because of amp, and he's really easy to chase down with Ember Spirit. And this guy now is died, and he is like so far away from his Battle Fury at this point, and the aggression is just gonna keep on coming, and now they just kind of get wiped, and everyone just keeps steeping in one by one. And this Lina is full HP with ultimate though, and we're a little bit scared. Will almost dies, but luckily the multi-cast king is doing good work, and boom, double kill from Tinker. We take down the tower, and then after that we can just ward up their jungle and keep up pressure on Anti-Mage constantly. So he tries to return lane, we just keep on doing the same thing, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So a lot of things to take into account. Firstly, melee heroes, if you want to trade hits with them, buy a stout shield, get a poor man's shield so that you trade pretty efficiently. I would even recommend poor man's shield on some melee heroes like Slardar and LC. If you want to right click him a lot, get some sort of instant mana regen so that his mana break won't prevent you from getting a lot of kills, and sacrifice your farm if it means that he's not going to get as much farm, and just always make him feel threatened. Every time he comes up for a creep, sometimes you'll just like, screw the deny, I'm just going to get right clicks on him, and eventually it'll add up. And this was with a Dazzle healing him constantly, and a set of tangos, and a ring of health, and a flask. aka a salve. So generally they won't have that much regen, and he'll be out of regen much earlier and in that kind of sticky areas like, do I buy boots? Do I buy magic stick? Do I buy ring of health? Do I want a quelling blade? Like you want to force him into these sort of difficult decisions. And if he's like half HP again, do you want the Lina to TP in and bottle him? Do you want Dazzle to come over and heal? Do you fairy over regen? Do you creep pull? Like what exactly do you want him to do? And eventually they're going to mess up in one of those mistakes and die and die and die and die. So that's pretty much an early game versus Anti-Mage. Pressure him early, pressure him often. Even if you fail at it, you'll learn a lot more, I think, from pressuring Anti-Mage than trading farm. And generally it's a really good idea to trade against Anti-Mage, or else he'll like peak way faster than your carry. He just farms incredibly quickly once he gets Trez, Battle Fury, and Vlad's. Just don't let him get to that point. So thank you guys for watching. That was Merlini Plays. I release a video every Tuesday, and I will be at ESL 1 Frankfurt, or sorry, ESL 1 New York next week. That will happen from October 3rd through 4th. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys soon.